So each year, fewer workers are making deposits to the fund, but more people are making withdrawals. Every approach put forth to address this problem will be bad for some group of Koreans. For example, ask younger workers to increase the percentage of their deposits. Bad for them. Reduce the allowable withdrawals of older retirees. Bad for them. Either their life savings or their incomes are at stake. Futures are uncertain. Nothing seems fair for everyone. I hope you can see that no single person, interest group, or party can solve this, no matter how much integrity or expertise they have. Hello. You know, I rarely watch movies or television, and this past January, I binge watched a few popular Korean dramas. On cold winter nights, I loved entering the worlds of Crash Course in Romance, Extraordinary Attorney Woo, and Crash Landing on You. However, at the end of my K-drama binge, I was surprised by a theme I started to notice. I'm deeply familiar with this theme in my own country, the United States, but it caught me off guard coming out of Korea. It involves glorifying characters who fight, often with weapons to protect something they love. Now, in real life, most of us abhor fighting and violence, and we don't want it anywhere near us. And yet, we're still in awe of the heroic good guy who fights valiantly against the evil bad guy. This worries me. I think associating our cultural heroes with the act of winning a fight keeps us all believing two things. One, that fighting is actually the most practical way to solve problems. And two, that these problems can be meaningfully understood in simplistic terms like right and wrong, good people and bad people. Neither of these beliefs is true. And yet, we applaud the good guy fighters. Certainly, I applauded Captain Ri each time he successfully defended Siri from bad guys using every forceful tactic from martial arts to guns. But if we glorify fighting, we'll get more fighting. Not solutions, not collective well-being. So, I want to shift our attention to the potential there is for glorifying a very different type of hero. The type who operates on the premise that every challenge we humans face, every instance of conflict or injustice we encounter, does not need to become a morality play where we righteously fight against evil. Despite how often we see these simple clashes of good versus bad or us versus them played out on our screens and even in our communities, this different hero sees that very few of our disputes demand this kind of simplistic polarizing. And they see that fighting actually amplifies our conflicts, deepens their power over us, while also making it less likely that our most important problems will even be addressed constructively. I call these different heroes conflict facilitators, and I have been training them for the past 3 decades. Conflict facilitators are people who rush into the middle of an argument and deploy their interpersonal skills and instincts, not for a fight, not for a win, but for building collective solutions. Through their skillful interventions in relationships between people, conflict facilitators help to de-escalate the emotional intensity of disagreement so parties in dispute can listen more carefully, express their passions more accurately, and separate facts from fictions. In this process, root causes of disagreements can emerge, just like a tight knot untangling and distinct threads coming apart to reveal each color. This is what happens when people are able to engage conflict rather than fight against it. But it rarely happens without a conflict facilitator. So, how does all of this relate to Korean people and to what you are facing as a nation? I've been thinking about how Koreans of childbearing age are having fewer children, and about how your country will soon have what sociologists call a super-aged population. The social, economic, and political consequences of this are vast and complicated, but it's safe to say that your falling birth rate will transform your society and your culture, and you can't turn back time. One place where this has become a tangible conflict is in the Korean pension system. So each year, fewer workers are making deposits to the fund, but more people are making withdrawals. Every approach put forth to address this problem will be bad for some group of Koreans. For example, ask younger workers to increase the percentage of their deposits. Bad for them. Reduce the allowable withdrawals of older retirees. Bad for them. Tax private industry to make up the shortfall. Bad for them. Expand visas for foreign workers. Are you ready for multicultural pluralism? Clearly, there's no apparent solution. People are at odds. Either their life savings or their incomes are at stake. Futures are uncertain. Nothing seems fair for everyone. I hope you can see that no single person, interest group, or party can solve this, no matter how much integrity or expertise they have. So, we have all the ingredients for a righteous fight for justice. But imagine that the Korean people could come up with a plan that would be fair for everyone, that would be an innovative step forward for the nation, not a compromise, a new creation. As you might have guessed by now, you need a courageous process where you face your opponents authentically, where as many different views as possible are heard, are valued, and are considered. In other words, you need to reach for differences, not consensus, and you need to ensure that each person is being true to their viewpoint, not to what others want to hear. And you need to hold all of these conflicting viewpoints and tensions long enough, patiently enough, lightly enough, and fiercely enough to discover the opportunities. In other words, you need a way to lean into the space between all of the parties, the space where all the bullets are flying. Most of us don't want to do this, nor do we know how to do this. But leaning into the discomfort of deep disagreement is the very operating theater of a conflict facilitator. When they lead the way, opposition and argument are the single most valuable resources that exist. Not something to flee, something to embrace. So this would actually become the climactic moment in a film where someone like Captain Rhee, instead of reaching for his weapon and joining the fight, chooses to support all sides. He steps bravely into the fray and makes room for honest engagement. In the next scene, we would see our conflict facilitator, Captain Rhee, like an orchestra conductor, live directing tense and difficult communication exchanges, pushing away stereotypes, resentments, rehearsed perspectives, pushing them out of the way, and inviting curiosity and genuine listening into that space. We see him helping reset the distance between people, either by making more space between those who are too close so they can stand on their own, or encouraging less space between those who are too distant so they can work together. Slowly, all of this redirection would allow the participants to do what they haven't been able to do on their own. See the decency and value in their opponents and begin to think together. At this point, the audience would be applauding as vulnerability, compassion, and even humility emerge in the place where there was once only division and animosity. And eventually, we would see a group of people inspired to co-create something greater than their individual interests. The promise of a conflict facilitator is that when they skillfully hold the tension between people with divergent and divisive ideas, they help that group of people to build toward fresh, new insights that are greater than the sum of their opposing views. It's like 1 + 1 = 3, where two things added together actually catalyze a third thing that we didn't have before we decided to collect all the pieces of an impossible puzzle and fit them together. Now, the superhero version of all of this would be a conflict facilitator stopping bullets with their bare hands and turning them into essential messages. Of course, that's fiction, and yet maybe it helps you to see the superpower implicit in this very humble work. But being in between people and issues is controversial. Conflict facilitators are often criticized because they're not taking sides and not fighting for a cause. It's always cast as a moral affront to advocates on all sides of crucial social issues. The truth is, it's easy to choose a side and demand things from your opponent, whether or not a weapon is involved. But what does it require to transform your opponent into a true ally? What does it take to actually build just solutions? It requires conflict facilitators, those heroes without guns who are willing to stand with us in the chaos of our pains and passions and help us find the wisdom and a better future right there. I hope you'll join me in wanting to live in a world with a lot more conflict facilitators among us, armies of conflict facilitators, actually. And yes, all of this came from me binge watching K-dramas.